One day I'm gonna be everything I wanna be. I don't let it get the most of me. One day I'm gonna be free. I wanna be everything I'm gonna be. My future right in front of me. One day I'm gonna be free. I wanna be free. From the depths of darkness, a voice emerges. A host with a fire burning in his soul. With a heart of steel and a spirit unbroken. He rides on two wheels ready to claim his throne. Amidst the chaos and the thunderous roar. Insane wheels rise as a force to be reckoned with. Fueled by the power that only metal can bestow. He takes his stand, refusing to submit. Insane wheels hear his battle cry. A metal mayhem that will never die. With engines roaring, he paves his way. A legend in the making, day by day.
Good morning, ladies and gentlemen. It's a beautiful, beautiful Thursday morning, a thirsty Thursday morning. Great to see everyone in the chat, man. Let's get it. Real quick to start things off, Sterling Wheel comes in with the 420. Always appreciate my man saying, I'm voting for Hunter Biden and Afro Man. Shit. Well, I very much appreciate you making it rain in the chat, man. Thank you for that. So we got a big morning as we always do. Trump warns Iran, as well as Castro indicted, and Ebola alert. Those are the three big things that we're following this morning. But let me go ahead and give you guys the timeline of what we're looking at this morning. So charges against Castro have been announced. And believe it or not, this is going to be a long segment. Well, they have it as a long segment. We're going to kind of skim through it. We don't need to sit here for 40 minutes discussing it. I promise. You guys know that about me already. And then Trump speaks to reporters after the Coast Guard Academy address that he did yesterday. I actually didn't watch that speech, and we're not even going to present that today. We're going to go ahead and take basically questions. He speaks to the reporters after the Coast Guard Academy address, so that's where we're going to get more of other things, information, not just the Academy. And then House Democratic leaders hold weekly press briefing. Now, yesterday we showed you guys what the House GOP was saying, and now we're going to go ahead and bring you guys the House Democrat leaders hold their weekly press briefing. We show both sides, of course. Then regarding Castro, indicted, expected to elevate Cuba-U.S. tensions. I think that's an obvious, right? Cuba and Venezuela go hand in hand, or I shouldn't say that. Cuba is an issue, right? And that's what we're talking about here is Castro. For some reason, I had my mind set over there for Venezuela. I don't know why. Anyways, Vanessa Trump says that she has breast cancer in her Instagram post that happened late last night. So Vanessa Trump, the former wife of Donald Trump Jr. and mother of 5 of President Trump's grandchildren, says she has been diagnosed with breast cancer. Man, that's terrible. That's terrible news to hear. I wouldn't want that for anybody. And then we have something wild coming out. Trump says Netanyahu will do, quote, whatever I want on Iran, and, quote, in no hurry to make a deal. And I believe that. And then we also have motorists stuck in Atlanta flash flooding after heavy rain. So this was just last night. There was some heavy rain that came through the south. And actually, we got a lot of it here where I live, too. We definitely got a decent amount of rain last night. As of 4 hours ago, we have an update on the whole Ebola outbreak. U.S. airports screen travelers now. That's actually a good idea. It says several airports are screening airline passengers amid the Memorial Day travel rush as Ebola outbreak concerns rise. Now, that's a good thing. I honestly do think, especially from certain areas, certain continents they're flying in from, like, let's just say Africa, right? We may want to go ahead and screen those people, right? All right. And then we have Iran's supreme leader says enriched uranium must stay in Iran, report says. Okay. We'll see how good that goes for you. Anyways, those are our stories for the morning that we're going to be going over this morning. So real quick, let's do our call to actions and then we'll get into the madness. Make sure you guys hit that like button, double tap that screen if you guys are on the vertical side. It is absolutely free to do so. And also, listen, this is what we do Monday through Friday. And then, of course, Saturday morning is members only, man. And speaking of members, please consider becoming a member starting only at $3.99 a month. Making sure we're not breaking the bank out there with anybody, but check it out. This is what allows us to be on these airwaves as well as have these lights on. So thank you guys for becoming members and staying members. Little side note here, follow my Instagram at BallValveTV, where I post everything behind the scenes of not only my life, but as well as the show, Millennial Food Time, and all the breaking news, man, that we're not reporting when we're not reporting on YouTube. When breaking news happens, that's usually where I post it. Also, make sure you guys join in on the conversation down below. In the video description down below, there's the invite link for the Discord server where we all hang out. So make sure you guys join up on that. And last but not least, all super chats, super stickers, gifted memberships, and membership signups are, of course, all going to be presented live and shouted out onto the show. But if you guys would like to skip that YouTube 30% brutal cut that they take from your hard-earned cash, we have these platforms that are scrolling around the screen. At any time, you can donate to those, and I get 100% of the proceeds. And not only that, but of course, I'll read out loud just whatever your message is, just like a super chat, man. So, all right, we're ready to rock and roll this morning. Great to see everyone in the chat, man. Thank you all for being here. We got Charles Darwin. We got Virginia Chaos in the building. Always appreciate you. We got PJ 420. Yes, sir. We got Easy Frank, my man. Good morning. We got No as well, man. We got Steve Easy. Thank you all for hanging out with us this morning. We got a big morning ahead of us, of course, as we always seem to do. Let's see here. Yes, make sure you guys double tap that screen. We got Pops in here as well saying earbuds in, scooters ready, chaps on. Yes, sir. Great to see you in the chat, bro. And hopefully you ride safe there. Lucy Ball is supreme leader. That is hilarious, bro. That is good times, good times. We got Josh Phillips on the Facebook side of things saying Mike Machine Gun May. Absolutely. I got you, homie. Great to see you in the chat as well. We got Prez. Good morning to you, kind sir. All right, let's go ahead and get into the madness this morning. We're going to start off with charges against Castro have been announced. So they are, I think that today he officially got indicted, but we'll get into that here in a minute. Let's just get this first little context here. And if there's not much, we have the actual update from later on. So we're probably we're not going to get a lot of time out of this very first story here because we have the update.
As we mentioned, we have been waiting the arrival of different officials, including Todd Blanche, James Uthmeyer, a lot of folks here, all in connection with the indictment of Raul Castro, the former president of Cuba. And we actually have several different live images, some of which show that they have arrived now. What I want to do is lift up the audio.
Get your charger, Naomi. What the hell? Shit. Good morning.
So that we can listen in live to all of this.
5150, that's right. Happy Thirsty Thursday. All right, let's see what's going to be said.
President of Miami-Dade College. Welcome to the Freedom Tower. Today we gather at the Freedom Tower for a solemn and meaningful occasion as we welcome representatives from the United States Department of Justice, community leaders, families, honor, commemorate the legacy of the brothers to the rescue, and honor the victims whose lives were tragically lost in this pursuit of freedom. This ceremony is deeply significant because we stand here at the Freedom Tower.
Yeah, no kidding, bro. Then you could avoid every bit of every type of news because that's probably the only other news that you actually watch, I'm guessing. You know what I mean? We got Papa D coming in, by the way. Blessings to you, kind sir. He sends in a two spot saying, cheap hello, blessings. Absolutely appreciate that, my man. Thank you for the 2 spot. Trust me, it definitely adds up. It goes a long way. And Virginia Chaos says the echo audio. Yes, it was echoing as they switched over cameras, and hopefully the DEI hire audio engineer figures it out.
Our Freedom Tower, a place that represents refuge, resilience, and enduring hope for those who came to America seeking liberty after fleeing tyranny and oppression in Cuba.
Well, that's the whole thing. People are like, dude, the guy's 95 years old. Why are you going to charge this guy? You know what I mean? Or whatever his actual age is. And people were saying, well, it's symbolic. You know, it's a symbolic thing that nobody gets past. And, you know, but I do agree with you. No, that it's just like, what good is that going to fucking do, really?
So many of our parents, our uncles and aunts walked through these doors, 400,000 of them, looking for hope and opportunity. Today is their day. For generations of Cuban exiles, this building became more than a processing center. It became a symbol that freedom was still possible, a symbol that democracy, human dignity, and human rights.
See, she literally just said that. A symbol. So it's supposed to be a symbolic gesture of what they're doing with the DOJ.
Matter. Today, we remember the 4 brave men of the Brothers to the Rescue whose lives were taken on February 24th, 1996. Not in war, but during a humanitarian mission.
Hell yeah, Papa D. I like that shit, and I respect it. I respect it. Very much appreciate you, Papa D, always.
Compassion and courage. Their sacrifice became a painful reminder to the world of the brutality of the Cuban regime and the high price so many have paid for speaking freely, defending democracy, and standing for human rights. We also recognize the countless victims who have suffered.
You're off to see the wonderful Wizard of Oz?
Under the Cuban regime, across generations, prisoners, families separated by exile, those silenced for dissidents, and all who have endured persecution.
Oh no, I forgot my counterclockwise tobacco over there. Let me go grab that.
All in the pursuit of freedom and dignity. Their stories, our stories, are part of the larger story of Cuba, but also the part of the story of Miami and this Freedom Tower itself. As we gather today, may we honor the memory of those not only with reflection, but with renewed commitment to truth, to justice, and to the preservation of the democratic values for future generations. Thank you for being here today for this important commemoration. May God bless each of you, and may God bless the United States of America.
All right, we got our counterclockwise tobacco on deck. We're good. Real quick, we got Sterling Wheel in the chat, by the way, and yes, it is his birthday today. Happy birthday there, kind sir. Let's get it. He's officially an old fart. No, I'm just kidding. He's still young. He's early 40s, I think it is. But anyways, happy birthday, my man.
And to our brothers and sisters in Cuba, we hear you. Freedom will come. Cuba will be libre. It is now my distinct honor, representing all of you, to introduce the United States Acting Attorney General Todd Blanche.
Thank you. Thank you.
Hell yeah, Papa D coming in with the 420, my man. Appreciate that. Making that shit rain, man. Thank you very much for that. We're 620 total.
Thank you very much. It's great to be here in the great state of Florida. Today, we are announcing an indictment charging Raul Castro and several others with conspiracy to kill U.S. nationals.
What's up, Texas Gidget? Hopefully you're enjoying your morning as well. I definitely know that we are. There's a lot of clapping. Jesus.
A few moments later.
We'll listen a little bit longer, like maybe a minute, and we're moving on. Seymour Cannabis, good morning. So, from the DOJ, they're saying Castro indicted for conspiracy to kill U.S. nationals.
Mr. Castro and the others are charged with additional crimes as well, including destruction of aircraft and 4 individual counts.
There's Lucy.
The indictment was returned by a grand jury sitting in this district in Miami on April 23rd, 2026, and was unsealed today. For nearly 30 years, the families of 4 murdered Americans have waited for justice. On February, this is a story all too familiar. On February 24th, 1996, 2 civilian aircraft operated by Brothers to the Rescue were shot down over international waters by military aircraft from Cuba. 4 men were killed. Carlos Costa.
Now, I've heard mixed reports on that whole thing. And then also something to do with a boat where there were Americans. I forget what the deal was, like as if they were going there to like go to the island and then like pick people up and bring them back to the United States. I forget what it was, but that was a while ago.
Armando Alejandro Jr., Mario de la Peña, and Pablo Morales. They were unarmed civilians and were flying humanitarian missions for the rescue and protection of people fleeing oppression across the Florida Straits. As alleged in the indictment, Raul Castro and 5 co-defendants participated in a conspiracy that ended with Cuban military aircraft firing missiles at those civilian planes and killing 4 Americans. Those are the allegations returned by a federal grand jury. My message today is clear. The United States and President Trump does not and will not forget its citizens.
Steve, she is definitely the hairiest pussy I've ever had.
I want to say that we also do not forget the families, the loved ones, and the friends who have carried grief and heartache for 30 years. For the first time in nearly 70 years, senior leadership of the Cuban regime has been charged in this country, in the United States of America, for acts of violence resulting in the deaths of American citizens.
All right, so we understand what's happening here. We have the update, so I'm going to give you guys that here in a minute. But first, we need to go ahead and do this in a chronological, way, right? So first, let's go ahead and get into Trump speaks to reporters after Coast Guard Academy address. Yesterday, Trump was in Connecticut giving that Academy address, and I actually didn't watch the Academy address. But what we will see is this right here is after the Academy address, he spoke to reporters before he got back on the plane.
Let's see if we can listen in.
That's usually where we're going to get actual information about what's going on rather than him, going on and on about, with the Academy and stuff.
Trump.
So we have a lot of expertise in Cuba, and it's not going to be like the biggest thing we've ever done, but I will tell you, to a lot of people, it's going to be one of the most important. They've been looking for this moment for 65 years.
What's up, GG? Good morning to you.
So we'll see what happens, but we're going to, in the meantime, we're going to have to help them out. They have no way of living. They have no food. They have no electricity. They have no energy at all. But they do have great people. There are a lot of great people. I mean, I have so many Cuban friends in Miami, mostly in Miami and Florida, and they're unbelievable people. They're unbelievable entrepreneurs, and they'd like to go back. I think hopefully they're going to want to live here, but they want to.
What's up, Dean? Great to see you in the chat as well. Good morning from the West Coast.
Go back. Maybe they'll invest. We'll see what happens. But we're freeing up Cuba.
Mr. President, how much longer do you anticipate the embargo having to be in place on Cuba?
We'll see. We'll be announcing it pretty soon.
How long is on the table here, Mr. President? Should we expect any escalation here, or should they expect anything? Yes.
No, there won't be escalation. I don't think there needs to be. Look, the place is falling apart. It's a mess, and they've sort of lost control. They've really lost control of Cuba.
Shit, I don't even blame you, Steve Easy. That does sound good, bro. For damn sure. Let's find it here. Where is it? Did I delete it? It looks like I may have. Damn, I might have deleted my sandwich video. No joke. Damn, I fucked up. So you must embrace your fuck up.
Beat yourself up over past mistakes. You are going to fuck up again in the future, quite possibly in a most spectacular fashion. Why worry about yesterday's fuck ups when you have tomorrow's fuck ups to look forward to? You are a fuck up, and fucking up is part of your growth process. Embrace the process.
Now, ladies and gentlemen, don't worry. I still have that clip on my phone, so I'm going to find it real quick, upload it so that you guys see it. All right, give me a minute.
Sorry, Ashton, like you did with Maduro.
I want to say that.
was on Capitol Hill today. He says that he doesn't think J.D. Vance has what it takes to come after you. What's your response to that?
Who said that?
Gavin Newsom.
He said doesn't have what?
Trump, the era of Trump ends with you, and that J.D. Vance doesn't have what it takes to come after you.
Well, look, we've done a lot, and JD's very talented. He's a smart guy. He'll do very well if it's JD. We have a lot of very talented people. So I think hopefully we're going to leave something that's going to be real easy to run. We're doing a lot. We're doing a lot, and JD's a very talented guy.
I have to respond. After you said yesterday you're about an hour away from making a decision, where does that stand today? Have you heard anything from them?
Very right on the borderline, believe me. If we do, we save a lot of time, energy, and lives, most importantly. Could go very quickly. Or a few days. It could be a few days, but it could go very quickly. Iran is a defeated nation. We're dealing with some people, and actually, I must tell you, we're dealing with some very good people. We're dealing with people that are, I think, far more reasonable than the people that are really no longer with us. We're dealing with some people with talent, with good brain power, and we're pretty impressed by it. So hopefully those people will make a deal that's going to be great for everybody. But I don't know. Do I get what? I never get tired. But what I like to do, if I can save war by waiting a couple of days, if I can save people being killed by waiting a couple of days, I think it's a great thing to do.
All right, real quick. Shit.
Man, motherfuckers talk all the shit they want. But you see me, I'm sitting up here snacking on this big ass sandwich, not getting a fuck. Kiss my dick, motherfucker.
There we go. Shit, now we're back in action.
Stephen Colbert's last show tomorrow night. What's your message to him? The late night host Stephen Colbert. It's his last show after him being such a staunch critic of yours. What's your message?
I'll have a message at a later date. Okay.
On Iran, did the U.S. offer Iran oil sanctions relief during the peace talks, as Iranian state media has reported?
No, I haven't.
What's up, sick bastard? Shout out to my man. Good morning to you, kind sir.
I haven't heard that. I'm not doing any relief until they sign an agreement. When they sign an agreement, we can get that place built up again and have something that's really a good country for the people. But no, we haven't offered anything.
What's your message to American families who are
Miss Lotus as well. Good morning to you.
scared by the rise of AI? They're worried that their kids are not going to be able to have jobs someday because AI
Well,
will
I'll tell you, AI's been amazing because right now we have more jobs, more people working right now in the United States by far than we ever had before. And outside of the war, and I assumed the economy was going to go down, the stock market would go down 20-25%. It's actually up. The stock market is higher now than it was before I started the Iran situation. And on the Iran, I had no choice because they were going to have a nuclear weapon. We're not going to give them a nuclear weapon. But that's going to end soon, one way or the other. Oil is going to come tumbling down. There's so much oil. We have 1,600 ships in the Strait that are loaded up with oil that are going to be coming.
1,600 ships stuck in the strait. Wow. Held hostage.
Out very soon. So we'll have to see. But the military has been unbelievable. The blockade has been infallible. Not one ship has gotten through the blockade.
Mr. Jack Telcott, my man, saying greetings and blessings to all gathered. Yes, sir. Blessings to you, kind sir. Good morning to you. Great to see you in the chat.
37 have tried. They all wish they didn't.
Can you tell us about your call with Erdogan?
Yeah, I had a very good call with President Erdogan, and pretty standard. We have a very good relationship.
Pretty standard.
Isn't it nice that I have relationships with some very tough people? He's a tough guy, and
I do agree with that sentiment, by the way. I don't care how much you hate that motherfucker across the aisle, but you should be able to sit down and negotiate. You should always be able to sit down. I don't care how inhumane they are. You should always be able to sit down across the table and negotiate.
But I have a relationship with him that nobody else does. He's actually done a good job. He's been, I think very much of an ally. Some people would doubt that, but I think he's been a great ally, and his people respect him. His people respect him a lot.
So what's your response to people that are critical of your settlement over your IRS case about the tax now that you can't be prosecuted for tax?
Yeah, well, what happened is I was suing IRS for a lot of different reasons. One of the reasons is they released my tax returns, which you're not allowed to do. Now, they show I pay a lot of tax. I may even release my current returns because they show I pay a lot of money. But they're not supposed to do that. They were in lockboxes as president. And they released them. And a certain firm released them, which was, I guess, a private firm. But it released them to a lot of the fake news. And the fake news went, and you're just not allowed to do that. And many other things happened. So I released them from the lawsuit, and I guess they made a settlement of some kind. I wasn't involved in the settlement. I could have been involved, but I didn't choose to be. So they made a settlement.
He's talking about the $10 billion lawsuit. originally that he put against the IRS, I believe.
And also the anti-weaponization
Okay, maybe not.
of people. I mean, people were destroyed.
I just assumed that because it was just put into the news like yesterday, the day before, and we reported on it actually that Trump actually dropped that $10 billion lawsuit with the IRS, and I'm sure that there was some serious settlement. Now I have heard reports saying that now Trump and his family no longer have to pay taxes and all this shit for life or whatever. I don't necessarily think that that's true, but that's being thrown around right now.
Went to jail. Their families were ruined. They committed suicide. You know, all the Biden administration and the Obama administration, both of them. I mean, the Obama administration started it. The Biden administration was horrible in terms of what they've done to people is incredible. And we're reimbursing those people for their legal fees and for their costs and for anybody involved. But they destroyed people. People committing I read the other day, a person committed suicide over it. They went, you know, it was the most violent thing I've ever seen in politics, what they did. And yet if I say, oh, let's look at this one or that one, they say weaponization. What they did in terms of weaponization.
You also be safe out there, No. We always appreciate you.
Will never be allowed to happen in this country again. So we think that those people, we think that anybody involved in that process should partake. And you're talking about peanuts compared to the value.
Yes, they do. They will still continue to. I mean, no matter what, you can't escape it. I mean, shit. Maybe not necessarily on the pay scale, on the pay front, but when you buy anything, of course, you're going to get taxed. Now, does he file taxes yearly while he's in office? I do believe so, yes.
It destroyed the lives of many, many people. Thank you very much.
All right, so that's the end of that. Let's go ahead and move on. We showed yesterday the House GOP leaders coming out and speaking. Now the Democrats are speaking. So let's go ahead and bring that up. This happened last night, late afternoon into the evening, sometime around that time. Anyways, let's go ahead and figure out what they're saying.
For now, let's go ahead and take the House Dems.
Oh, boy.
I want to thank Vice Chair Ted Lieu for joining us and Ranking Member Brendan Boyle with the Budget Committee. Donald Trump and House Republicans this week are once again proving that this is the most corrupt administration in our nation's 250 years. Americans didn't vote for a slush fund to bail out January 6th insurrectionists with felony convictions, or to build ballrooms with helipads, or to help Trump and his billionaire donors get rich trading stocks. Yet that's exactly what this administration has been doing. And in Congress, it's not much better. Last year,
that's right, Frank. Shit.
Republicans passed the largest health care cut and food assistance cut in American history just to give billionaires and wealthy corporations record profits.
No, that was kicking illegal aliens off of Medicare and any type of the Medicaid and Medicare, all these systems, and then, of course, food stamps as well.
They continued tax cuts. Now, this week, they're doubling down on their disastrous misuse of taxpayer funds by giving an out-of-control ICE $70 billion with zero reforms while they continue to push a ballroom that costs $1 billion. All of this comes at a time when hardworking Americans are already struggling within the weight of Trump's costly tariffs and skyrocketing food and gas prices thanks to his war of choice.
Yeah, I don't know if he still does that, PJ, or not. I know that that's how it was in his first term. I don't know. I don't know if he still just keeps a dollar. I don't know if he does that anymore.
With Iran. Americans are smart. They know Trump's policies are directly impacting their wallets, and they know that Republicans aren't concerned about improving their lives. It's no wonder his economic rating is hovering around 30%, a career low. Republicans know that they're hurting Americans, and do you want to know what the response is? Jim Jordan says that's life. Mike Lawler said that the Iran war is absolutely worth it. And Trump even doubled down, saying that his comment that he didn't think about Americans' financial situation, he called a perfect statement. When a
Frank, I also got you.
Why are you gay? You are gay.
I got you.
When a Democrat is in power, Republicans love to play the blame game. But when they're in power, Republicans tell Americans to be patient, even as they face financial ruin. Remember, Republicans control the House, the Senate, and the presidency. They could work with Democrats at any time they want to lower the costs that Americans face. I hope they'll finally listen and work with us. Vice Chair Ted Lieu.
Thank you, Chairman Aguilar. We have a cost of living emergency in America.
Oh, shit.
Gas prices are skyrocketing. Grocery prices are surging. Mortgage rates are climbing. And what are Trump and Republicans focused on? a $1 billion taxpayer-funded ballroom, a giant arch in D.C. to honor Trump, and now we learn a nearly $1.8 billion slush fund to pay criminals who are friends of Donald Trump, including January 6 rioters. November is coming. Now, let me tell you a little bit about why this nearly $1.8 billion taxpayer-funded slush fund is completely unethical and totally ridiculous. First of all, it came as a result of a settlement between the IRS and the Department of Justice. Well, it turns out both those agencies are the same entity because they both report to Donald Trump. So it's like settling with yourself. And with these fake negotiations and this fake settlement, magically appears nearly $1.8 billion to pay people who have been convicted of crimes. This is completely unethical. The people drafting this document know it's unethical. Acting Attorney General Todd Blanche will lose his law license after his term is over because he's engaging in flatly unethical behavior. You can't have a fake settlement with fake negotiations with essentially one entity negotiating against itself and then just paying out taxpayer money that Congress never authorized to go to criminals. And now I'm honored to present to you the amazing representative from Pennsylvania, Brendan Boyle, who's also the ranking member of the House Budget Committee.
Thank you, and thank you to both the chair and vice chair. Well, here we are to debate and vote on the $1 billion Ballroom Act. You know, if you take a step back, you recognize just how absurd this situation is. We have right now healthcare costs out of control thanks to the Republican cuts that were passed last summer and signed into law by the president. Let's not forget, that's even before the Medicaid cuts come into effect this December.
Well, this is where they're getting the numbers, by the way. So the ballroom itself is that $400 million that they donated from, private companies and people. But then the bunker underneath the ballroom is going to cost something like $1 billion or something like that. So I do believe that they will be asking Congress for that money. Now, I don't know if that's true or not. I don't know if that's already happened, but I haven't seen those reports yet. But nonetheless,
when it is projected, we will begin to see the 15 million Americans who are about to lose their health care because of the Republican bill passed last summer. But that's not all, not just health care. Food prices skyrocketing, far higher today than they were a year and a half ago. And gas prices? Gas prices were actually a bit of a bright spot 2.5 months ago.
Shit, what's up, Stephanie? I see you in the chat. Good morning to you.
In my area, like the national average, was just under $3 a gallon. Where is it today? An average of $4.50.
Yeah, no, you're right about that, Steve Easy. He says, can any politician make a point without bringing up the past? They can never prove their point without what about BS? Yeah, what aboutism, right? 100%. I wish people, the politicians level, can just speak what they're going to do forward. I wish they didn't have to refer back to anything. And this goes for both sides of the aisle. Obviously, it goes for all these politicians. They all do it.
2 cents a gallon and climbing.
Blame game.
More than 50% increase in just 2 months. We haven't seen something like that in 60 years. So it's no wonder that we have consumer sentiment at a record low in the University of Michigan study, a study that goes back and has been asked every month since 1952. And the president's approval when it comes to the economy, the lowest.
What's up, Liquored Up with Poncho? Good morning.
Recorded for any president since George W. Bush at the height of the Great Recession. What an unmitigated disaster this administration has been when it comes to the economy. The people are desperately in need of help. They are in desperate need to make their lives more affordable. And what did the Republicans offer them? The $1 billion ballroom, all to honor.
So the ballroom, I don't know why they keep saying that. The ballroom was paid for by private people, didn't come from any tax money. Now, what they're talking about in this whole thing is actually the bunker. The bunker underneath is what they're discussing.
Their dear leader. It's about time they start putting the people first and not their dear leader.
Questions? Max.
Thank you. There was just a big bipartisan vote on the housing package. Can you comment on that and what that means going forward for bipartisanship in the House?
Strong bipartisan bill. I want to give Ranking Member Max.
Ricky, relax. I've already said that now 3 times.
Waters and Chairman French Hill a lot of credit. They put forward a product that a lot of us could stand behind, and I believe every Democrat present voted for it. Something that's long needed. We've talked all along, and I mentioned in my comments that there are a lot of problems with affordability: housing, healthcare, utilities, gas, groceries. housing is one that we need to work with other levels of government, our state leaders, county and city leaders, but this is something that we can affect. And this was a strong bill, a collection of a lot of ideas, but it also is an opportunity for the House to assert itself. It wasn't long ago where the senators just said, just hours ago, they said, just take this and eat it, right? And we appreciate our House colleagues stepping up and putting together a bipartisan product. That's what we can
whatever, dude. Yeah, you're watching me, fuckface. Remember where you're at.
do when we work together. And if Republican leadership gives their members a little bit of space to do that, sometimes they can. And I wish that this place would do more of that. Michael.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. I wanted to ask about accountability, as you all also focus on cost of living and affordability issues. Obviously, there's fierce opposition across the caucus to the ballroom, the anti-weaponization fund that Mr. Liu talked about. How do you all kind of thread this needle between talking about affordability and cost of living, bringing down gas prices, the housing bill you just spoke about, but also accountability, because a lot of this accountability and oversight won't happen until you all get back the majority. So I guess the question I'm asking is, if you're making all of these commitments on bringing down the cost of living, how does that...
What's up, Hardwire? Good morning to you.
How are you going to also focus on holding this administration accountable for what you all say is corruption that has not happened in the country's history?
As Leader Jeffries has said, when it comes to oversight, it's a target-rich environment down the block, down to 1600 Pennsylvania. Just in the last couple days, Michael,
What's up, Richard?
$1.8 billion that we're talking about. There's been discussion of helipads as part of a side agreement potentially included in this. The president, his family member.
Well, how much would a helipad realistically cost? I mean, it's not going to be $1 billion, right? I mean,
versus entities can never
that's an odd thing to point out, but okay.
Audited or second guessed by the IRS. I mean, all of these things in a normal environment, each one of those would have been worthy of congressional, oversight. That's what this president does. He throws everything at the wall, and he wants to see what sticks. We don't have the luxury of doing just one thing. We don't have the luxury of just focusing on one thing. We have to do oversight and accountability when we take the gavels. But we also
definitely got to look.
So have to deliver for the American public, and we've talked about what that looks like. Lowering the cost that people face. They're getting crushed with healthcare costs. They're getting crushed. Brendan mentioned gas prices. Over $6.
PJ, no, that's the party of complaining about everything. You know that.
Dollars in Southern California for a gallon of gas. I mean, these are the real things that people are concerned about. And so we don't have the luxury of just focusing on one. We have to do it all. And we have to present over the next few months. We have to tell the American people exactly what we're going to do to make their lives better. And yes, that does include asking tough questions to the White House and holding them accountable for the slush funds that they're creating and that they want to give potentially $1 million settlements to violent criminals who broke into this building. But we will have.
Yeah, Justice, you're absolutely right on this, by the way. Because Trump has become what people think what a Republican is or what a conservative is, like fiscally conservative, but it's totally not true. Like, for instance, I'm actually fiscally conservative. Right? Like, I look at Trump way far left compared to my ideology, but that's just me. Anyways, I agree with you.
Time to ask a lot of those questions, more focused on where we go for the next few months and how we drive down the costs that people face and how we win in November. So we have an opportunity to do that. I'll ask Vice Chair Liu and then Ranking Member Boyle too.
Democrats are going to do what we're telling the American people we're going to do when we flip the House, which is lower costs. So we're going to pass off the floor legislation to reduce the largest Medicaid cut in U.S. history by Republicans. We're going to pass legislation to get rid of the Medicare cuts that happened because of the way the Republicans wrote the bill. We're also going to pass legislation to restore the ACA tax credits. At the same time, our committees are going to do the work of what committees have always done in the past, which is oversight. So today, Ranking Member Raskin on House Judiciary is making requests for subpoenas to Acting Attorney General Todd Blanche and other people that worked on this slush fund document. This $1.8 billion slush fund is so unethical that the general counsel of the IRS resigned because of it. So we want Acting Attorney General.
Man, there's a lot of people that's resigned while Trump has been in office. So
Todd Blanche should come in right now and answer questions. If Republicans don't go along with that, we're going to get the gavels, as the chairman said, next.
And I'm pretty sure you might be onto something there, 5150.
Why are you gay?
Shit.
Term, and we will get Acting Attorney General Todd Blanche in if he lasts that long.
If he lasts that long, this fucking guy.
For your reaction to the indictment of Raul Castro just now, and whether we can see any kind of action from House Democrats in the event of military action against Cuba.
I just saw the headline, so I need to read a little bit more. But obviously, this is an administration that believes that they can go into other countries and grab foreign leaders. We have pushed back strenuously. We have asked questions about not just Venezuela, but about
Yes, sir, Prez. Yes,
Trump's
sir.
reckless war in Iran. And this seems to be another area where the president is using every tool he can to deflect against a reckless war of choice and to distract from the American public that he's trying to, to enrich his family. Those are all the things that we know this president does, and this is one more example. I haven't read the details of the indictment. Obviously, this is the similar metric to what they've used in Venezuela, seeking a.
So I'm obviously, guessing that the Dems are going to be like, we shouldn't be doing anything with Castro.
An indictment in U.S. court. So we'll see what the next steps are. I'm not prejudging those, but we'll continue to gather facts and work with the relevant committees, including judiciary and others, to ask questions.
Thank you, Chairman Aguilar.
This will be the last question that we take.
With EWT and the Global Catholic Network. Yeah, I mean, with this Castro indictment, a lot of people are a lot of lawmakers are concerned that we're going to see the same pattern that happened with Iran and with Venezuela. And just, is there anything that Democrats can do, checks and balance, to prevent any sort of military action besides bringing possible impeachment charges?
Well, look, every week we've been here, we've had.
Jesus, man. I hate that they crank the audio while someone's asking a question, because they're cranking this audio right here. The microphone's right in front of the stand. And when they do that, as soon as the guy speaking at the stand goes to speak, it's just blown the fuck out.
War powers resolution. We have stood up time and time again to hold this administration accountable and to tell them to stop reckless wars. If there is another invasion, we will be guided by the Foreign Affairs Committee and potentially judiciary if this is a U.S. indictment. So those are the types of questions that we can ask. But pushing this administration is something that we can do. Obviously, this is all breaking and this is news to us. It's not like they sent us a memo or anything when they did this. So we'll dig in and have more to say in the future. Chat.
All right, we'll leave it there, right there. All right, let's go into Castro. We do have a little bit of an update of that. So it says Castro indictment expected to elevate Cuba-U.S. tensions. Now, that is kind of an obvious, but let's go ahead and bring that up. There we go.
All right, welcome back in Alive Now. I'm Austin Westfall. Federal prosecutors are charging former Cuban President Raul Castro in the 1996 downing of civilian planes operated by Miami-based exiles. Rebecca Castro has a full report explaining what you need to know about the indictment.
On Cuban Independence Day, the Justice Department revealed charges against one of the men responsible for dismantling democracy in the once free nation. 94-year-old Raul Castro, the former president of Cuba and brother of longtime dictator Fidel Castro, is facing murder and other charges related to...
Real quick, we got Liquor Double Poncho coming in with the 13-month re-up. Let's go. My man, I very much appreciate that. Those are my favorite, by the way. When I see people become members and stay members, that's the best of the best right there. Thank you for that, Liquor Double Poncho.
The deadly shoot-down of Cuban refugee rescue planes in 1996. 4 people were killed, including 3 Americans.
If you kill Americans, we will pursue you, no matter who you are, no matter what title you hold, and in this case, no matter how much time has passed.
U.S. officials reportedly had evidence tying Castro to the incident for decades, but never pursued a case. When President Trump returned to office, several lawmakers pushed the DOJ to finally consider charges.
We have a president who's not willing to look the other way when Americans are harmed.
The indictment is also seen as a step toward possible military intervention in Cuba. CIA Director John Ratcliffe met with Cuban officials in Havana last week to deliver a message directly from President Trump demanding political change in exchange for security and...
I didn't know this happened right here. I didn't hear about it. That's totally interesting. A representative for Trump basically went and spoke and said shit needs to change, otherwise you guys might get fucked up or some shit.
In Cuba. CIA Director John Ratcliffe met with Cuban officials in Havana last week to deliver a message directly from President Trump demanding political change in exchange for security and financial assistance.
We're going to have to help them out. They have no way of living. They have no food. They have no electricity. They have no energy at all.
Acting Attorney General Todd Blanche says he expects Raul Castro to show up on his own to face these charges and would not address any potential military plans to capture him in Cuba.
I don't know if he can really show up on his own anywhere. Dude's 94 years old. Shit, man.
In Washington, Rebecca Castro, Fox News.
All right, let's bring in former federal prosecutor Nima
He'll have to come in with his nurse or something.
Rahmani to discuss. Nima, there's an arrest warrant out for Castro. So what does that mean if he's in Cuba?
It doesn't mean a whole lot. Now, obviously, we're all thinking,
Oh, this guy again. We always enjoy it.
Why are you gay?
Just asking a question, though.
You are gay.
about Nicolas Maduro and the U.S. military going into Venezuela and arresting and extracting him. So obviously, that would be a potential game changer. And with President Trump, certainly nothing is on the table. I can tell you, I've covered a lot of Department of Justice press conferences, and I've never seen anything like today. I mean, there was so much applause and cheering there in Miami. I think this is a big deal.
Yeah, it was kind of out of control. But it makes sense why there was so much clapping, because it was down there in Miami where people actually care about Cuba like that.
Especially for the Cuban and American community, many of whom have suffered or have had.
So they just from the report that we just heard there, Steve Easy, they said he's 94. That's the number that they said.
One suffer under the really brutal communist regime there in Cuba, but unless there is a way for Raul Castro to show up in court here in the United States, he's certainly not going to come voluntarily. And I don't think there's any world where Cuba extradites him to the United States. There's obviously no extradition treaty. So unless there's a military intervention here, I don't think this case is going to go anywhere, even though, of course, this means a lot symbolically.
This is the event you're talking about. Acting Attorney General Todd Blanche announced these charges in Miami at a ceremony to honor those killed in the shootdown. So let's just break this down in layman's terms for the audience, Nima. What exactly is Raul Castro being accused of by the DOJ?
So he's being charged with a series of crimes: murder.
Yo, 5150, you're totally right. Dude used the big tooth comb to comb that hair, didn't he? He definitely did.
To commit murder and shooting down an aircraft. So if you're looking at the charges in this case, and let's just say for the sake of argument that Castro appears in court, obviously, I think what the prosecution will need to prove is that he actually ordered this attack. And it was a direct order. Obviously, if he did, he can be charged, even though he wasn't flying the MiG or as a pilot or co-pilot, as a co-conspirator or an aider and abettor under the law. Now, that would, of course, require some cooperator testimony. I assume the DOJ has evidence in this case implicating Raul Castro. And really, what held up this case for the past 30 years is really politics. And, I'm not naive. I was at the DOJ, but this isn't the type of indictment that I could have signed off on. This would have to go to the highest levels of the DOJ, the Attorney General, the Secretary of State, because you are prosecuting the former president of another country. And we know that there's political sensitivities there, and obviously there's potential immunity. Now, it wouldn't necessarily apply.
Now, when they indict him, right, are they going to do the same thing and go do kind of the same operation that they did with Castro or with Maduro? Is that what's going to happen? Like, what do they plan on doing to get him over here to be charged officially? I mean, like where he gets, has to sit down in front of a, jury or whatever.
Because he's a former president. And then the question is, was this in Cuban airspace? Was it in international waters? Is it arguably self-defense? I don't think so. I think, again, there's enough evidence to move forward. The question is, will Raul Castro ever be seen in a U.S. court? I think the answer.
That's it, right?
So that is really unknown.
Yeah, that is unknown because it would be speculation otherwise. Let's see if we have any other updates on this real quick. Yes, there's Hal Kemfer talking, but what I want to see is images here. There's some images right here.
2 hours of power every day. Ironically, Raul Castro, the little place that he lives.
Wait, he said the people only get 2 hours of electricity per day. And of course, he's going to say, and of course, Castro, he's got 24/7 electricity, right? That's, of course, what's going to be said.
Has put on Cuba in recent months.
Pretty extreme. Basically cut off the oil flow. The average Cuban only gets about 1 to 2 hours of power every day. Ironically, Raul Castro, the little place that he lives near Havana, they don't have any problems with power or water.
They don't have any problems with power or water or anything.
Or anything like that. But the rest of Cuba is suffering, and that's why you see people on the streets banging pans, lighting fires. They're frustrated, they're angry, and so it's kind of interesting to watch this transition. But we've been pretty concerted. We've gone after more sanctions and everything else, and the rhetoric has been very tough, especially from the president.
Brutal.
Obviously,
and I just living like that is just miserable.
And we just talked about this with Nima. The U.S. indicted Nicolas Maduro in Venezuela, and we know how that ended up with him. What are the chances that we see a Maduro-style U.S. operation targeting a 94-year-old Castro?
That is something to think about. It's something to ponder. It's possible, And actually, where he lives, it might actually, in some ways, operationally be a little easier to go in and get him. Although you can bet that with this indictment, they're going to be keeping him under wraps and trying to hide him. He's not as visible because he's not an actual president or head of state for Cuba. And he has largely been out of sight for months, not really visible to everyone. And of course, in his mid-90s, he's not really as active as he used to be. It'll be easier to hide him and to make it more difficult to find him in the first place. Now, with that said, I have little doubt that somebody's, may have talked to Special Operations Command and said, see what we
Damn, 420. How was it when you were there?
can do, explore the options if we were able to get in there. And if nothing else, we probably got plans for if we could do something. But just holding this out puts tremendous pressure on the regime. And what it does is it puts the regime in a tough position. Number one, we could do something militarily. We demonstrated that now in Venezuela. Or we could force them to do something like hand him over, which would be just catastrophic for the legitimacy of the regime.
Yeah, no kidding, Donnell, because if they become a state, then they get access to federal funding, right? So if they're a territory, I don't know what the obligations are there for money, but I don't think they get federal funding, right?
Politically, one has a tough time even contemplating that. Of course, the other side is by having this out there, it does energize those who might want to overthrow the regime. It would say, well, the U.S. is there, and they have a distinct reason to be here. Not that I've seen any, coalesced forces or clearly identifiable that could do that, but we are seeing more frustration on the streets. And when you see frustration on the streets, that
What's up, Ghost? Good morning.
can lead to something else.
Can an indictment like this change Cuba's willingness to negotiate with the United States?
Well, initially, what it looks like is they're hardening their stance. They're very angry about it, very frustrated, and it's a natural reaction. You can imagine any government would definitely take umbrance at another government, particularly a smaller country like Cuba, looking at the U.S. This big sort of a massive country to the north that has played such a dominant role in Cuban history for so many years, that they would take great umbrage at that, and there would be a lot of pushback, not just from the top members of the regime, but throughout the entire governmental organization, that we would do something like that. That would be the initial reaction, but over time, it will wear on them, particularly when it's followed up by more sanctions and other things, not just against organizations.
Welcome back, VC.
But against people. And you've already seen restrictions. We basically have a do not travel to Cuba notice out there with some rare exceptions, but basically saying don't go to Cuba. And all of this is having a profound economic impact across the board. And at the end of the day, the economics are probably a lot stronger than any ideological motivations.
So in the long term, what indicators are you watching?
All right, real quick. So we're going to move on. Vanessa Trump says that she has breast cancer in an Instagram post. We're going to quickly, this is a very, very quick, like a minute and a half update. And then we're going to get into Trump says Netanyahu will do, quote, whatever I want on Iran and, in quote, in no hurry to make a deal. First, let's go ahead and get this ready to show you guys here. Give me 2 seconds here. Boom.
We do have some breaking news as we learned on social media. Vanessa Trump announcing that she has been diagnosed with breast cancer. She is the ex-wife to Donald Trump Jr., as you can see from the New York Post, saying this as Vanessa Trump reveals this breast cancer diagnosis. She was the ex-wife to Donald Trump Jr., married to him for more than a decade before their
What's up, Moto? Good morning to you, by the way. Good morning.
2018 divorce, saying on social media, talking about this diagnosis, posting it here as you can see it online live now from Fox, saying, I want to share a personal update. I've recently been diagnosed with breast cancer. While this isn't news anyone expects.
What's up, Jack? We always appreciate you, man. Hopefully you're enjoying the morning.
Working closely with my medical team on a treatment plan. I would like to thank my doctors for performing a procedure earlier this week on me. I'm staying focused and hopeful while surrounded by the love and support of my family.
Whoa, real quick. We got VC coming in and gifting out 5 gifted memberships. Let's go, dude. Big, massive W. Thank you very much for that. Definitely goes a long way. Not only helping me, but you're helping 5 others in the IWF, my man. So thank you very much for that. Also, we got a Cash App, and it's from VC, my man. He sends in $20 on the Cash App, plus he gifted out this 5 gifted memberships. He sends 20 and says, support the bowling ball movement. Yo! My man. I appreciate that. Thank you for making it rain in the Cash App and in the chat, man. That's freaking epic. Let's go, man.
Kids and those closest to me, thank you for your kindness and your support. It truly means more than I can express. I kindly ask for privacy as I focus on my health and recovery. Of course, we also heard former sister-in-law Ivanka Trump responded to the announcement saying, praying for your continued strength and swift recovery. Love you, Mama. Of course, Vanessa Trump still very present inside some of the circles around President Trump as the former now daughter-in-law to the president, as they were married, Vanessa Trump and Donald Trump Jr. back in 2005 before divorcing more than 10 years later. They do share 5 children, including Kai Trump, the eldest, at 19, and also Vanessa Trump very present in the inauguration, and also in a relationship potentially with golfer Tiger Woods, drawing some major.
What's up, Ryan? And yes, VC is absolutely amazing, super selfless, and I'm very grateful. All right, let's go and get into this next story here. Trump says Netanyahu will do whatever I want on Iran, and in quote, in no hurry to make a deal. All right, let's go and bring this up. Here we go. 3, 2, 1, bam.
We continue to track any and all major developments that may come out of the ceasefire negotiations between the United States, Iran, and the mediators. Fox's Ashley Webster has the latest wrap-up of what we've been tracking.
Yes, I agree. Fuck cancer, fuck breast cancer, fuck all the variants of cancer. But yes, absolutely.
Middle East.
I agree.
Iran's
I'm sorry to hear
Revolutionary
this.
Guard is warning that it will extend the war beyond the region should the U.S. attack again, adding, quote, our crushing blows in places you do not expect will bring you to utter ruin. Iran is also exerting its control over the Strait of Hormuz, a vital passageway that has been effectively shut down now for 79 straight days. In the last
What's up, Carney? Good morning.
24 hours, though, Iran says 26 ships have passed through the strait, including 2 from China and 1 from South Korea. And
That's interesting. So if they're passing through, did they pay some weird-ass toll or something like that? What's going on here?
Has been effectively shut down now for 79 straight days. In the last 24 hours, though, Iran says 26 ships have passed through the strait, including 2 from China and 1 from South Korea. Analysts say Tehran is allowing
You know what? Here in a minute, we'll do the money part because we haven't even done it.
vessels from favored nations to pass through, but at a cost.
And of course, they'll have to pay some of money that will be determined by the Iranians. So all the process need to go through the Iranian authorities, and only after they will get the approval by the Iranian Navy, the Revolutionary Guard Navy, only then they can get out from the straits.
In the Gulf of Oman, U.S. Marines boarded an Iranian-flagged commercial oil tanker suspected of violating the U.S. blockade. The vessel was ultimately released and ordered to change its course. CENTCOM says 91 commercial ships have now been redirected by the U.S. blockade. Iran's
Pablo.
Foreign Ministry, though, responded by calling it an act of piracy. There is also little relief in sight for oil tankers that are trapped in the strait. It means the U.S. has become the supplier to the world, with the biggest impact being a growing shortage of refined products like gasoline and jet fuel.
Yes, that's true. We are about to get into OT. That's very true.
Conflict began, an average of 135 ships passed through the strait every day. The average this month, just 9 a day. And experts say even if the Strait of Hormuz reopened tomorrow, it would take 6 months for the markets to return to normal. In Tel Aviv,
I'm surprised it would be as short as 6 months to recover. I mean, my prediction is at, well into a year, but hey.
Ashley Webster, Fox News.
All right, real quick before we continue on and get an analysis on here, let's go ahead and get the money part over with.
All right, just get the money part done.
Give me money. Money me. Money now. Me a money needing a lot now.
Now that's actual factuals. All right, here we go.
Bring in Professor Alon Burstein of the Israel-Palestine Report. As always,
Oh, we love
Alon,
him.
It's good to see you.
He's great.
Live look.
Very in-depth, though. Very, very in-depth. And sometimes even so in-depth that it can be hard to follow. So we'll do our best. We'll get his opening statement, and then we'll figure out what's going on from there.
At the White House, the time in the nation's capital just past 9:30. Let's talk about the ceasefire negotiations. We are not privy to exactly what's being discussed behind the scenes, what Trump's administration is saying to the Iranians, what the Iranians are saying to mediators. But Alon, what do we know about the indicators that are out there? And what are we seeing that gives us a clue about how much work is actually being done behind the scenes by the Americans, by the Iranians, and by the mediators? What lets us know how much is actually happening behind the scenes?
Damn, Prez. You know what? You know what I found out is these damn fucking politicians do everything they can to tax anything they possibly can. Like they find anything that they can possibly tax. And trust me, they'll do it. I mean, look at your fishing licenses and shit like that. Are you fucking kidding me?
It's always good to see
Everything
you,
is a
Austin.
tax.
So, as you said, there's a big difference between what is published, sort of in the public eye officially, and really the way we end up knowing most of what we know is through back channels, it's through leaks. And that can include two different things. First, it includes reporters and journalists who have their sources. Usually these are ministers or people on a lower level of negotiations. Sometimes these are the assistants to the negotiators. Sometimes these are officers that are part of the negotiating teams. Sometimes these are, the actual negotiators themselves, but they leak things to reporters. That's one method in which we tend to find out how things are happening. Another way in which we...
Oh, trust me, if the government could tax it, they would, 5150. And that's something that they hate, any type of cash business, including being a stripper, right? That's a cash business.
Often find out is when either side anonymously leaks things because they want it known that things are happening. Now, one of the interesting things that we've seen actually in the United States is because the US president is very involved, I'll just say it that way, in posting things himself, we've actually had a lot less anonymous reporting than we've had in recent times. Despite the fact that it's sometimes very difficult to follow the narrative of what Trump is saying, the fact is, when we want to know if things are happening, often we can measure that on the extent that Trump puts out messages. The more messages are coming out, that means there are more things happening behind the scenes. The less messages that are coming out, less things are happening behind the scenes. So these are the ways we tend to guess how active things are, at least those of us who are following every post and every social and every this, we tend to guess how active things are behind the scenes. I will say that in general, when it comes to the ceasefires, it's important not to get caught up at the big summit meetings. We had the big summit meeting in Islamabad in Pakistan, and you and I have spoken over the last 2.5 years by now. Every time there was a summit meeting between the negotiators on Israel's side and Hamas's side, we have the big...
And I remember during that time because we were reporting it way back then.
Summit meetings that are happening between Israel and Lebanon. But in truth, a summit meeting only happens after the negotiations behind the scenes bring us to the point to bring in the big guns. So what's happening behind the scenes, the wheels are turning all the time. The negotiating teams are always talking to one another or to the mediators. Qatar is trying to mediate, Pakistan is trying to mediate. These things are happening all the time. The closer we get to a quote unquote breakthrough, that's when we start to see those anonymous leaks. That's when we start to see those things happening. So that's really the array of things as they're happening. Meanwhile, while there's no summit meeting, a lot's still happening behind the scenes.
What's up, Paige? Good morning. About a reported phone call that happened between President Trump and Benjamin Netanyahu. They talked on the phone on Tuesday. Axios has a source that says that Netanyahu's hair was on fire after the call.
Oh my God.
Alone, do we know why Netanyahu might be reacting?
What the fuck is that?
Negatively to where negotiations stand?
Absolutely. And this is something that I was saying already, 2-3 months ago, that we're probably going to see more and more of the closer we get.
What's up, Tiffany? Yes, good morning to you. And Ghost Eagle, yes, it is overtime. Make sure you guys send in your donos because there's no tax on overtime, no tax on tips. Let's get it. Always appreciate you.
To the end of 2026. At the end of 2026, between either September, October, and November, we have two critical election campaigns. There is the midterms in the United States and the general elections in Israel. And the leaders of both countries, the leader of Israel, Netanyahu, the leader of the United States, Trump, they need opposing things. Trump needs the war over. He needs the war over. He needs to return to his base and say, I said I would end wars, and now look, I made sure that Iran will not have a nuclear weapon. The price of gas going down.
I agree with his analysis here.
He needs things to spiral down. Netanyahu, in turn, is coming to these elections in a serious bind. He said that he would stay in office.
He needs this war to continue raging on.
After October 7th in order to defeat Hamas. Hamas is rearming, according to some reports, has more fighters than it had before October 7th. He said he would stay in office to defeat Hezbollah. There are suicide drones detonating in Israel daily. He said he would stop Iran from getting nuclear weapons. Right now, it's a complete deadlock. He needs the fighting to return in order to show his base why you need to vote for him. So both leaders, as we get closer to the end of 2026, really need different things. And right now, Netanyahu's in a bind because, as Trump himself also said that, basically he's the one who's in charge of all the negotiations. Israel cannot make any move on any of those fronts, in Gaza, in Lebanon, or in Iran, without authorization from the United States. And so Netanyahu is constantly pushing the United States into going for another round in Iran to maybe either further destabilize the regime or bring Iran to better terms of a deal as far as Israel will be concerned. And Trump, we see time and again, really does not want to do that. According to Barak Ravid, what happened in that conversation between Netanyahu and Trump is Trump informed Netanyahu that right now what the negotiators are working on is not even a final status deal. It is just a letter of intent between the sides that will agree to a de-escalation, a 30-day ceasefire, and a process to start negotiations over what was reported was the Straits of Hormuz and the nuclear material. Likely negotiations would also include the missile program and support of proxies, sanctions on Iran, all those things, but that's what was reported. But that is probably what Netanyahu was very fearful of. In the next month in Israel, no matter what, in the next month to 6 weeks, we're going to have an official opening of the election campaign. In Israel, election campaign is 3 months, and Netanyahu does not want to get
Damn, it's a 3-month ordeal
there when, in fact, no one in Israel, seemingly including him, knows if we're going back to fighting in Iran or not. He wants to get there with a big picture of him and Trump, as far if he could, flying F-35s together on their way to Iran.
If he could,
so
right?
That's probably why we have that report of Trump telling Netanyahu we're working on something that may be a de-escalation and maybe a calm down, and the report saying Netanyahu was livid over that.
We've been looking at a live picture, Tel Aviv approaching 4:45 in Israel. Today, Trump was asked about the Netanyahu call, and Trump said, quote, he's a very good man, and he's referring to Benjamin Netanyahu. He said, quote, he's a very good man. He'll do whatever I want him to do, and he's a great guy. Don't forget he was a wartime prime minister, unquote. Now, after that came out, news outlets, including the Times of Israel,
I'm sure it went nuts,
wrote headlines highlighting that Trump said Netanyahu will do whatever he wants him to do.
Wow.
So alone.
Yep.
How do headlines like that traditionally sit with
and the Israelis are not going to like that. That rhetoric goes against their rhetoric.
Netanyahu government?
So the Netanyahu government, look, ever since, I'll take us back to 2020. Ever since...
What's up, Dragon Classy? Good morning.
Since 2019, 2020, when Israel had 3 election campaigns, one after the other, Netanyahu already drafted Trump to his campaigns. The billboards in Israel showed Trump hugging Netanyahu, and the campaigns read, Netanyahu plays at a different league, i.e. Netanyahu is a cut above all other politicians. The Abraham Accords were when both Netanyahu and Trump were running for these campaigns. Netanyahu really he's marketed himself in Israel as the person who...
Yes, 2005, by the way.
The one who has the ear of the U.S. president. In turn, Trump, while has been very, very kind to Netanyahu in terms of heaping praise on him, in terms of calling on the Israeli president to offer him a pardon on his trials, on all these things,
that's
Trump
also
has really
true.
set up with Netanyahu a situation that is worse than Zelensky. We all remember Zelensky's horrible meeting with Trump and how he left. Netanyahu's in an even worse position to some extent because while Trump heaps praises on him, Netanyahu knows that this can flip over in an instant. And Netanyahu's worst nightmare would be that he would be coming into the election campaign and have Trump all of a sudden talking about him the same way Trump talks about leaders that he doesn't like. We've heard him talk about the French president. We've heard him talk about God knows how many people he's talked about negatively, leaders in the world. And if Netanyahu were to, for example, carry out an attack in Lebanon, never mind Iran, in Lebanon, that...
Well, listen, even down to the water supply, if you can, from the other side, meaning Israel's side, and they can just turn off your water, who's got the control, right? You know, that's just a basic analogy, but something that really is true.
I'll just be blunt, would piss Trump off. Trump may very well start to say, I don't know what Netanyahu is doing. Oh, why is he doing that? That would be very, very damaging for Netanyahu. So while it certainly does not bolster Netanyahu's position, and Trump puts out statements saying, Bibi will do whatever I tell him, it is also very much the truth. Netanyahu at this point will do whatever Trump tells him because the worst thing that could happen to him politically would be for Trump to all of a sudden turn around and point his venom at Netanyahu as opposed to calling him a great wartime prime minister and et cetera. So Trump knows this. Trump knows that Netanyahu will in fact do whatever he says. And that's why I think he's very, very casual with how he goes about these deals. The deal in Gaza is completely stalled. That's okay with Trump. It's not good for Netanyahu. It's okay with Trump. Netanyahu said that Israel's going to invade Lebanon, destroy Hezbollah itself. Trump has been the one each and every time to announce, no, actually.
Yeah, Ryan, they're doing a little bit of speculating on this. Absolutely. They're given like 2 options that could happen, kind of things.
There's going to be an extension.
And also who listens to who and stuff. So.
Ceasefire, which is another.
But I've also made comments about this ceasefire that we're in. The way that I look at what we're in right now in the regards to Iran, this is just halftime. Unless truly Iran comes up with some crazy peace plan, some sort of framework for a peace plan that's actually workable, it's going to be hard to get there. But if it doesn't get there, well, then of course the second half goes.
Trump knows that Netanyahu cannot do anything on any of these fronts. He's not shy about saying that. It damages Netanyahu, but also I think he's doing that in order to remind Netanyahu, and remember that's the truth. Remember that you will do what I say because I'm not afraid to say this publicly. And guess what? It could be worse if you don't do what I say.
I got to ask you about the G7. We now know that President Trump will attend next month's G7 summit in France. You're looking at video on screen right now when Trump attended last year's G7 in Canada. Again, this year's will be taking place in the middle of next month in France. Of course, this is coming amid tensions with U.S. allies over the war with Iran. The G7 is made up of Canada, France, Germany, Italy, Japan, and of course, the United States and United
What's up, Steve Posey, my man? Good morning.
Kingdom. Alone, what do these countries have to hash out about the Middle East, the United States and...
Oh, that's actually a decent question. Well, I can tell you these countries up here are struggling right now with their oil. Yeah, that's something that is going to be discussed there. United States, we're self-sufficient, and Canada can get it from us. So theoretically, right? Anyways, we got Brother Solau coming in with the $9.99, the 10 spot, my man, saying overtime pay. Hit the like on both sides because why not? Exactly. Thank you very much for the 10 spot, man. It goes a long way.
Canada and the 6 other European countries on the screen here in Japan.
So when it comes to the Middle East, they really, obviously the focus is the war with Iran and the Straits of Hormuz, and the fact that Trump, on the one hand, is extremely angry that he did not get support from the United Kingdom and France, especially them in Germany, but NATO more broadly, for the war effort on the one hand. On the other hand, it's also important to remember that he rejected their help. 3 days into the war, the United Kingdom offered to send a carrier, and Trump said, we don't need help after we've already won. When he then said that other countries should come in later, it was too late, and they said they're not going to come in. So first of all, they have to hash out lowering the tensions between them, and then they have to hash out if and when there is some deal, and there obviously will be some deal at the end of the day between the United States and Iran. It's going to be a complicated deal. It's going to have some sort of arrangement for security in the Straits of Hormuz. It is very likely that that's going to involve maritime security of other countries. NATO has already said that they are preparing next month to possibly start escorting ships through the Straits of Hormuz. They're not going to do that if it's in the midst of a war. So they're probably preparing for that in expectation that there will be some sort of deal. So that is the first thing, obviously, that they have to work out. The second thing that they're going to have to focus on also is the situation in Gaza. The Board of Peace has announced that we're moving to phase 2 in the Gaza Strip. That is completely stalled. We don't know where that's going. We don't know if that's going.
And like he said, Trump is okay with that. And Netanyahu obviously is not.
Where European countries have a vested interest in that as well. And that's going to be also something that they talk about. I will say, though, also, if we move away from the Middle East for a second, it's important to remember 3 other main arenas that are going to be lumped into this. One is obviously the war in Ukraine, and that's associated very much with Iran and Russia, et cetera. Another is tariffs. We almost forget, but the big deal between the leaders, up until several months ago, was the tariff war between them. And the third one, also, let's not forget, our friend there in the center in the north, Greenland, which Trump has also boasted about sending troops to take over. All of these things are also related. And while I know we're focusing on the Middle East, it's important to note that they're probably going to somehow be tied together. It will probably be, Trump likes to do this. We know that he raises tariffs on a certain country, and then if that country is willing to do something, he will lower tariffs on them, regardless of what they did, has nothing to do with tariffs. So we'll probably see some connections between the sides. Maybe, purely speculation here, that it could be that there'll be some sort of agreement. Okay, Trump will agree to extend military support to Ukraine, and in turn, NATO will agree to commit to securing the Straits of Hormuz. Or we'll see something associated with tariffs or Greenland. It's probably going to be tied in. We're probably not going to see the Middle East standing on its own. It's going to be part of all of these complex negotiations between the sides. Promises to be a very interesting summit. I'll say that.
Yeah, we'll be watching.
Yeah, no kidding. All right, let's go and move on. Here's a very small update real quick before we get into the Ebola outbreak. U.S. airports, they're now screening travelers, and I'm sure that they're screening travelers from certain continents, right? But first, let's go ahead and get into something interesting. There was a lot of heavy rain and weather that happened last night in the South, and there's a motorist stuck in Atlanta flash flooding after heavy rain. So let's go ahead and see this real quick. It's very quick. Just see what happens.
Welcome back to Live Now from Fox. I'm Sean.
I want to see what's actually happening here. Here we go.
Hey there, Shauna. Well, if you've ever been to Atlanta, you know that the downtown connector here is the main thoroughfare. It's where 75 and 85 connect the entire city. Well, today's rush hour here was an absolute mess. At one point, we saw drivers stranded on top of their cars. When this
on top of their cars?
Seemingly out of nowhere. Flash floods, stranded drivers in the middle of the downtown connector Wednesday. In the middle.
A lot of these major cities, they're just not the infrastructure for something like flash floods. It happens because of a lack of proper infrastructure to deal with it.
Of the rush hour commute. someone brought this person on top of this white car through the floodwaters to safety.
Everything looks very blocked.
And it was very blocked in the area of the Baker Street overpass from 5 p.m. to just before 6:30. Michelle de Keersmacher is a professor at Georgia Tech who got around it.
Yes, that's true,
on
5150.
I didn't know what was happening, and then I came here and I just passed by, and then I saw all this stuff happening.
Check out this sped up footage from a GDOT camera. Within a span of 2 minutes, you can see just how quickly the water
they're
rose.
driving through it like
all of that rainwater really had
it just came out of nowhere like
to
that.
go. And this is the problem.
Fox 5 Storm Team meteorologist Jonathan Stacy tracked the storm live on air.
Starting during the 3 o'clock hour, lasting until the 6 o'clock hour, we had
Rabbit of Chaos, y'all over there in Central Florida, you guys need the downpour.
2 storm cells that slowly tracked through portions of downtown and midtown Atlanta.
Jonathan says since this was the first good rain we've had in a while, it turned into the perfect.
Did it rain for you last night, Steve Easy?
Storm.
We've had weeks of dry weather, therefore many of the storm drains are clogged with debris. That limited the runoff
debris,
of the
probably trash.
Rainwater as it was falling, and it turned it into flash flood waters.
Yeah,
and
trash.
while we were on scene, we did see a lot of debris in the storm drains on the interstate.
I've been going downtown area, and like everything's just a mess. So I've been like trying to circle back with my bike, but it's been crazy.
Well, that sucks. All right. So let's go ahead and move into the Ebola outbreak. U.S. airports are now screening travelers. Let's go ahead and bring this up, and we'll get into it right away. Here we go.
Thank you all for staying with us here at Live Now from Fox as we are following the latest developments when it comes to an Ebola outbreak. It's happening over in the Congo and Uganda, but of course, health officials around the world are on high alert. And now we know that airports are screening their travelers amid this outbreak. Joining us live now is Fox 5's Stephanie Ramirez. She's there at Dulles International in D.C. Stephanie, what can you tell us about the screenings?
Yeah, well, the update is it's one specific airport, and that is Dulles International Airport. This is the.
That's interesting. Only one specific airport is doing this. Here we go.
Yeah, well, the update is it's one specific airport, and that is Dulles International Airport. This is the international airport of the nation's capital in the backyard here. Now, DHS, Department of Homeland Security, they announced, and this started just before midnight, that now anyone who has traveled in the 3 main countries we're talking about here, the Democratic Republic of Congo, South Sudan, or Uganda, if they've traveled through those countries in the past 21 days of not trying to get back into the United States, they will now be funneled to here at Dulles International Airport for special health screenings. Usually that entails or includes taking temperature checks, as well as doing contact tracing if necessary. Not the first time something like this has been done before. DHS saying that this is to make sure that Americans are protected. Officials still saying that the risk to spread to the U.S. is low. May 15th is when Congo confirmed an Ebola outbreak caused by a strain that there is no vaccine for. An American doctor was the first to test positive as an American. He was on a missionary trip for a nonprofit out of Pennsylvania and had to be evacuated to Germany for treatment after testing positive. As of last Saturday, the CDC had at least 246 suspected cases and at least 80 deaths reported in just Congo alone. And we know those numbers have grown. The incubation period of the strain, 2 to 21 days after exposure. That is according to the CDC. So we're at international arrivals now. The news catching folks by surprise. It is early. We reached out to the Metropolitan Washington Airports Authority, though, to find out more about what that is going to look like for any passengers who are flagged as having traveled to the 3 countries and anyone else aboard a plane with that specific traveler. But we did talk with someone waiting for a loved one to arrive this morning. He says he was a kid when we went through COVID, so he doesn't have the same fears that others may have when we talk about outbreaks. But this is his response to learning of the news.
I think that it is important to isolate those people, like the Hansa virus, when they had them in the ship and they had them kind of quarantining. I think it makes sense to have everybody that had.
Yeah, but here's the thing with Ebola. It doesn't spread human to human on the aspect of airborne. Okay, the way that it actually is transferred is from bodily fluids, as well as sexual relations, stuff like that, blood.
It's been affected in one spot so that they can actually take care of them instead of them being all spread out.
It's better to screen and monitor from a single location. So it's a way to simply manage potential exposures.
Well, that's what I was going to say. It's like, well, why not just screen travelers that are coming from a certain continent, right?
Do you think this will prevent people from flying? Do you think people will stop flying because of this?
Ebola is not something new. Ebola has been around since the 70s. So more and more people know about it. So I don't think it should have an impact unless until you see a huge outbreak, which I don't foresee happen.
No,
so,
it's not going to have a humongous out. It's not. It won't spread like something like how COVID did, right?
It's good to be vigilant. we've been working on Ebola for more than 10 years.
I guess that second gentleman you just heard from there tells us he is actually someone who works in infectious disease research in the greater D.C. area here. Now, there's no end date to this DHS order at this time. Again, officials still saying that the risk of spread of Ebola in the U.S. is still low, but taking these precautions. We do know some airlines are also reaching out to non-U.S. nationals and suggesting that they reschedule their flights to the U.S. at this time because of these precautions and restrictions being.
So they're only doing it specifically. They're only screening right now at that one airport over there in D.C.
Put in place. It's the very latest here from Dulles.
All right, interesting. All right, let's go on and move on into Iran. Supreme leader says enriched uranium must stay in Iran, report says. Now, what are we going to do? Take it at hearsay? Because that dude hasn't come out on camera not a single time since he's been, whatever. I guess he was elected into the position. But anyways, here we go.
Welcome back here on Live Now from Fox, 10:14 on the East Coast, 7:14 on the West Coast. Want to get you right back into some of the big stories that we are covering. And right now, this is coming in here. It's all kind of breaking at this hour as negotiations appear to once again have stalled between the U.S. and Iran. Reports are beginning to circulate that Iran's supreme leader has issued a directive that the country's near weapons-grade uranium must stay in Tehran and cannot be sent abroad. I want to bring in Fox's Ashley Webster joining us live from Tel Aviv. And Ashley, this has been a pretty big sticking point overall from President Trump. And I understand that the White House is actually pushing back on some of these reports.
Well, of course.
Yes, it's the key issue for the United States and Israel that Iran has no access to a nuclear weapon. And of course, that weapons-grade enriched uranium is a big part of that. The report today saying that Iran's supreme leader, who, by the way, has not been seen in public since he was injured in an attack.
You said that.
Quite honestly, we don't even know if he is alive. However, reports saying that he wants to keep all the enriched uranium within the borders of Iran. The White House simply saying that is not true. There's no validity to that at all, and it's just one of those statements that's released by who we don't know. It floats around in the ether, but White House has no.
Yeah, well, you ain't got to lie to kick it.
Stop the cap.
Don't got a cap.
It is absolutely bogus, and of course, if Iran does take that tact, well, that's not going to work at all, and we could see a resumption of military attacks on Iran.
And what we're looking at right now is a post from Aisha Hasni saying the White House is pushing back on this Reuters report. That's what you were talking about.
Yep.
According to someone directly involved with the negotiations, that report is false. And Ashley, there's also, as always, a lot of talk about the Strait of Hormuz. Where do things kind of stand now? Because I know that back and forth continues.
Yeah, well, right now it's where it's been for the last 80 days. It's hard to believe, but essentially it has been shut down to all commercial ships and oil tankers for 80 days in a row. It's having a huge impact on the global economy, including the United States, where we're seeing gas above $4 in all 50 states and much higher than that in some. As it stands, Iran just yesterday released what it called a commercial zone map, saying this is what we control. If you want to pass through the strait, you're going to have to go through us. You're going to have to fill out a ton of paperwork. And oh, by the way, it's going to cost you a lot of money. That's not going to fly with Washington. In fact, the UAE itself today said that is absolutely ridiculous. You have no control over the Strait of Hormuz. But frankly, at this point, Iran does. At the same time, the U.S. is imposing this naval blockade, and they've been doing that for several weeks now, that prevents any shipping getting in or out of Iranian ports. And that is putting a huge economic squeeze on Iran. And unfortunately,
not only that, but it's putting not only just an economic squeeze, but it's also putting a infrastructure squeeze on Iran in the way that, well, when you're pumping oil, you can't just keep pumping with nowhere to go. Yeah, it's an infrastructure problem as well.
Iran. And Ashley, we also know that Pakistan has been serving as a mediator here, providing the different responses to the deals, kind of back and forth between the U.S. and Iran. Sounds as though Pakistan's leadership there is actually in Iran right now. Explain to me what we know about those kind of meetings.
Well, it's interesting. The Interior Minister came to Tehran again for the second time in less than a week. He's been very involved in kind of negotiating or, plotting out what Iran is prepared to offer and what the United States is prepared to accept.
Oh yeah, Charles, they've been doing that for a minute now.
And right now, we know that neither side can come to some sort of common agreement. The biggest issue, again, though, is the ability of Iran to access a nuclear weapon. We also know that Pakistan's army leader is due to arrive today in Tehran to take part in these discussions as well. As it stands at this point, the Iranian leaders are reviewing the latest counter proposal from the United States. So it's interesting. They're going back and forth, but
I did
really
not
it's all
know
academic.
that there was a counter proposal sent yet, because as you guys know, we were actually supposed to strike Iran on Tuesday. That was the plan, at least what Trump and his administration said. But the Gulf allies, or the Gulf states down there, asked Trump not to, because there was going to be a peace plan, quote unquote, that was going to be proposed from Iran to United States, which there was. Supposedly it was something that Trump said, hey, listen, it's actually something that we can kind of work off of here. Let's go ahead and figure out if we can do this. So I did not know that they already sent back a counter. So that's the first time I'm hearing that right now. Anyways, let's go ahead and, well, that is the end of the morning. Listen, ladies and gentlemen, I can't thank each and every single one of you guys enough for the amount of love, support, engagement, hitting that like button, double tapping that screen. I very much appreciate you guys. Listen, we're not going to be rating anybody this morning, so you guys are going to have to find your own way out. But listen, I can't thank each and every single one of you guys enough. Obviously, we'll be back tomorrow morning for more of the world's madness. Until then, God bless everyone, and much love.
From the depths of darkness, a voice emerges, a host with a fire burning in his soul, with a heart of steel and a spirit unbroken. He rides on two wheels, ready to claim his throne, amidst the chaos and the thunderous roar. Insane wheels rise as a force to be reckoned with, fueled by the power that only metal can bestow. He takes his stand, refusing to submit. Insane wheels hear his battle cry.